Welcome all to the Papillion Vista Community Schools Board of Education meeting here for November 11th, 2024. We'll start with section 1, call to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Here.
Ms. Wood?
Here.
Mr. Lotus?
Here.
Mr. Madler?
Here.
Ms. Fisher?
Here.
Ms. Witt?
Here.
All present?
Thank you. I'd like to remind everyone we have the open meetings law posted at the entrance to the room. Moving on to section 2, communications. Item A, student council report from Papillion Vista High School. We have Nora and Maggie. Welcome. Come on down.
Welcome, Nora. Welcome, Maggie. Thank you for being here.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us here. My name is Nova Degby, and I'm the president of Student Council over Papillion Vista High School.
My name is Maggie Novak. I'm the vice president.
And we are here today to give our report of our high school. First, we're going to start off with the sports.
Our football team had made it to the playoffs and won its first round for the first time in over a decade. Softball, they continued their dominance this year, advancing to the semifinals. They have made it to state over 32 consecutive years. In cross country, we had not one but 2 girls break our school record at the state tournament in Lincoln. Overall, we finished 4th. In golf, we qualified 2 girls to lead state, including Audra Demery, who shot very well all year long. Our Believers and Achievers state winner, Avery Wolf, exemplified character, academic excellence, and athletic achievement. And finally, we had an NSA Hall of Fame former Monarch and Cornhusker Gina Mancuso was selected as the Hall of Fame winner this fall. She joins Allison Wetson and other Monarch legends.
And for the second half of our report, we'll be talking about the activities. So our fall play, A Wrinkle in Time, we kicked off this fall with our play, and it was a great performance from our actors again. Marching band, we earned a superior rating at the state competition in Lincoln. We enjoy our newly added support of Mr. Morgan. Student council, Stuco State Convention, we had a lot of success where we won an outstanding council award, one of 6 in the state. We also teamed up with NHS for our annual leaf raking at Terra Heights this past Sunday, and it was a very great event, great turnout, and we did a lot of good work. Journalism, our journalism department was recently awarded the Cornhusker Award. Both the school magazine and yearbook groups were recognized. Papio Proud, our diversity and inclusion group at our high school, during the last Teacher in Service Day on October 14th, Papio Proud showed a presentation on the importance of racial equity in the classroom. The presentation was very well received by staff members, and the club hopes to provide more informational sessions in the future. And finally, for our career fair, PLHS hosted a college and career fair where local businesses and colleges came to inform students of the opportunities and options that were available to them. It was an amazing turnout. All the students were respectful, and we are very happy to have businesses and colleges show up again at our campus. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you, Nova. Thank you, Maggie. Any questions for him?
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for the update. Okay, moving on to item B, we do not have any public comments, so we'll go straight to item C, the superintendent's report. Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Madler, members of the board. Happy Monday, everyone. Special thanks to our community members that are in attendance this evening. For those that are watching at home or on YouTube, thank you for engaging with your board and your community. Have just a few more announcements than usual, so if you'd give me some grace, we have some really fun and exciting and important items we want to share with you. None more important than the holiday that we find ourselves celebrating today. Of course, it is Veterans Day. I don't know how many of our buildings celebrated or had formal celebrations, but my guess is it was the vast majority, if not all of them. The day started off with Mr. Bailey and Ms. Wood, myself, Ms. Siri at Hickory Hill, continued on with other elementary celebrations. Our own Mr. Bailey spoke later in the afternoon at Patriot Elementary. I finished my day with the celebration circuit at Liberty Middle School. Just a wonderful celebration of our community, but more importantly, a wonderful celebration of the men and women who've so ably served our nation and worn our nation's uniform. They're pretty hard to attend without getting a little bit misty-eyed, seeing so many of our kids whose lives have been touched, either directly or indirectly, mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, aunt, uncle. Military roots, needless to say, go pretty deep in this great community of ours, and it's one of the things that makes it so special. On paper, about 9% of our students are military dependents, but what we found in doing some of these celebrations today, very frequently the speakers would say, you know, raise your hand or stand up if you have a family member, if you have a friend, if you have a mom, a dad who's deployed, who's a veteran, who's worn the uniform. 50, 60, 70% of our kids raise their hand or stand up. So maybe it's that way in other districts. I don't know. This is all I've known the last 12 years, but here's what I do know. I'm deeply grateful for everyone who's served this great nation of ours. It's not something we take for granted, especially having STRATCOM in the 55th right in our backyard. Also want especially to single out our own board member, Lieutenant Colonel Bailey, who served his country for 25 years, over 5,000 flight hours, as I recall, flying a variety of aircraft, including the 135s. Queen of the Sky was in there at some point, I believe, Colonel. But for all of our moms, dads, grandpa, grandmas, everybody out there that may be listening or may listen in the future, we're truly grateful for everything that you've done to support this great country of ours. God bless. We are thankful to live here, and we're thankful for all you do for us. Also, moving right along to other things, we had an event that occurred in the district about a week and a half ago. We had a crisis at both Liberty Middle School and our central office. I think it's the first time in our 12 years, in my 12 years sitting in this seat, where we've had two threats simultaneous in two of our buildings. First priority, of course, was Liberty Middle School, but it made things more problematic when the threat came into our central office, because when we have a threat, that's where we are doing our coordination with first responders, with law enforcement, with our building leadership. Incredibly proud of what I saw. I wasn't in the central office very long because many of us scattered out not only to Liberty Middle School to assist law enforcement and teachers and staff there, but also at Papillion-La Vista South, which was a wonderful host for our students and staff after they relocated from Liberty to Papillion-La Vista South. It was a true team effort. I can't tell you how many parents in the car line at Liberty said this just went really, really well. Can't tell you how many law enforcement officers came up to me at the end of the day and said, we're really grateful for the collaboration we have with the school district. It doesn't necessarily look that way everywhere. It was largely a lost learning day at Liberty Middle School. Let's be very clear about that, and we take that very seriously. We are a teaching and learning organization, but it was a tremendous learning experience. Our crisis team, our DIMIT team, our central office team, our building leadership team, law enforcement, there's too many people to adequately thank. So it wasn't a great day, but it was a day to be proud of, and hopefully we won't see that anytime soon. Not optimistic that we're going to catch the culprit. I have to assume whoever made the threat at Liberty Middle School also made the same threat at our central office. We saw something similar happen earlier that very week at Millard South High School. The nature of the threat was slightly different. What we found out through law enforcement is some of these threats are coming in from overseas, and the timing was not coincidental. They were doing it prior to our election because there are bad actors overseas that like to sow distrust, particularly when we are in the middle of a democratic transfer of power. So we'll continue to work with law enforcement, but as I said, I'm not terribly optimistic we'll get an answer on who made the threat, but super grateful for everybody that chipped in and helped. Speaking of school safety, Papillion-La Vista South High School recently applied for the School Safety Diamond Badge and had received it. Basically, there's a number of things that the school district must show in terms of policy, procedure, how we react, the training we have in place, but at the end of the day, this is the first of our district buildings that received this diamond certification. My guess is that there'll be other buildings that follow them. Certainly proud of the commitment at Papillion-La Vista South to that. Also, we had both of our high schools receive recognition in their journalism programs. Maggie and Nova mentioned both of them. Just a little bit more detail. So at Papillion La Vista High School, they received Cornhusker Awards, which are a little bit like the Heisman Trophy, if you follow journalism and writing contests. So both the Scepter, which is the school magazine at Monarch, and the Monarch, which is our yearbook there, of course, received Cornhusker Awards, which are the top awards for publications in the state of Nebraska. Likewise, at Papillion La Vista South High School, they also received a Cornhusker Award both for their yearbook and for their magazine. So I think it just goes without saying that we have two outstanding high schools, two outstanding programs with a firm commitment to writing and journalism excellence. So for our Monarch and our Titan writers out there, you are making your school district very proud. Moving right along, Community Closet event, second of the year. Dr. Myers and her team hosted an event at La Vista Middle School. 144 staff members, over 700 coats. Thanks to the city of La Vista, they donated many of them, and we had 1,100 miscellaneous items, mittens, hats, scarves, things of that nature. Needless to say, winter is right around the corner. We've got a whole bunch of families that need some help right now. You've all heard me say it before. I know I sound like a broken record. I could not be prouder of a community and a school district that is committed to giving a handout to some of our most vulnerable kids, to some of our most vulnerable families. The criticism's been made. I'm not even sure all of these families are Papillion La Vista families. I'm not sure they are either. But what I know is there's a lot of people in this community that have need, and need doesn't stop at the borders of the Papillion La Vista Community Schools. Our commitment will always be there first, but I'm just really proud to be part of a solution in helping people that can use some help, especially this close to the holiday season. Hosted our third student advisory meeting of the year. We talked school safety. That was not coincidental, given the threats that we saw around the district, around the metro. Sadly, the school shooting that we saw at Omaha Northwest. So we have lots of things that we're trying to be responsive of, so we had a really good debrief with our student council at Papillion La Vista South. We'll continue that conversation. We'll have additional advisory groups this meeting later. This is getting pretty long, so I'm going to wrap it up. Also wanted to remind the board that we did meet with Governor Pillen's staff for the second time in Lincoln last week. We'll meet again coming right up. And finally, we'll have a full report at a future board meeting, but I did want to single out Papillion La Vista South High School for its 4th state title in volleyball in the last 6 years. I was there for 2 of the 3 matches, including the final on Saturday evening. Pretty incredible accomplishment, more titles to come. They're pretty young, ladies and gentlemen, so I think we might see them again in future years. So really proud. I don't think they lost a set. I think they went 3-0, 3-0, 3-0. In their 3 matches. And with that, I will conclude my superintendent comments for the evening, Mr. Madler. Sorry for the length of the report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Rickley. Moving on to item D, board reports.
I attended the liaison lunch at Papillion Middle School on October 29th. Some of the things that they celebrated were the improvement in attendance that they've been working with the MOEC group. They're working mostly on early interventions to try to stop attendance from becoming an issue so that students can continue learning and getting through their classwork efficiently. We talked about some areas that they have some stress with, which would be getting long-term subs, especially in specific subject areas. It's probably not so hard to get a sub for elementary school where it's kind of just a general education, but when you need a specific sub in a subject area like math or social studies, it's kind of hard to find a long-term sub in those areas. And I know that's one of HR's focuses, is to try to find substitutes who can fill the needs of our district. Let's see. The bond work, we talked about that, and over the next cycle that's coming up, there's classroom refresh, the gym and the track, and the ADA restrooms and special ed restrooms were talked about.
I attended a liaison lunch at Terra Heights back in mid-October. They had several celebrations, including they were very pleased with how the renovation project has gone. They were very complimentary of the team that had been there. And on the day that we happened to be there, the kindergartners had just moved into their classroom. So it was an exciting day as they moved into a new room. They also shared some real positives about the CKLA, the new language arts curriculum that's started in kindergarten. The kids love it, and the teachers feel like they're seeing great success with it. They were also positive about a skills program, IXL, which it allows them to identify specific areas for kids that need some intervention or enrichment, and so they felt that they were seeing some positive results about that. They had some questions about the upcoming accreditation process and what their role might be in that process, and Ms. Siri was there to give them some more detailed information, and they're looking forward to that. A couple of challenges that they shared were in the areas of paras, still down, a couple special education paras, and that can cause a challenge on a daily basis. And then we also did spend some time talking about behavior and how that can be a challenge. And even though oftentimes they recognize that we have many interventions in place and that our data does look good for our district, but sometimes on a day-to-day basis, the daily reality feels a little different. And we just talked about how, as a board, we continue to look for ideas and support and encourage them to reach out to us with any ideas that they might have so that we can continue to work on that. As Dr. Rickley mentioned, I did have the opportunity to attend Hickory's Veterans Day program this morning. And I think the big takeaway for me, it was lovely to see the kids, their excitement, the parents. But I was very touched by the gentlemen, the 3 servicemen that spoke, and how each one of them shared about when they're gone serving, how important it is to them, how their family's cared for while they're here. And how, as a school district, the teachers have worked so hard to make their kids feel cared for in the absence of their parents. So it was, again, a great celebration on this special day.
Continuing the liaison lunch theme, I had a liaison lunch last Tuesday at G. Stanley Hall, which was always exciting for me since those were my old stomping grounds. So it's great to be back in the building. Very similar feedback as we've kind of heard around the table. I mean, great celebrations. They're very thankful for the work day, the day after Halloween. So thanks to the HR subcommittee and HR and Student Services for continuing that work day after Halloween. They also agreed that the CKLA has been super effective. They had a learning year with it, and so now it's starting to move on to the other grades. But it's amazing at the 2 that I've done just how I've never seen so much excitement over new curriculum, and it's you can really sense it from the staff. So I'm glad it was a great investment. Similar topic as well. They have similar challenges being short-staffed, having caseload numbers for speech-language pathology being very high, trying to continue to meet the students' needs, but not overwhelm our folks either. We had quite a bit of conversation about technology and getting their feedback on would a one-to-one model in the elementaries be effective and how best to use. What's great is from a separate liaison lunch, at Ashbury, they had someone that kind of figured out a good schedule to ensure that the devices are available when staff or students need them. So definitely some takeaways on that topic for sure. And then again, like we hear everywhere, behavior, just taking away from the learning environment, and again, not having enough paras to support when needed. So it's a great conversation, a really engaging group. I do like our new model of having a group for the full time instead of folks coming in and out every 5 minutes. And we tend to repeat ourselves over and over again because they all have similar celebrations or similar challenges. So again, thanks for the staff and Ms. Jamie Blair for hosting, and can't wait to go back sooner rather than later.
Sorry, I get to add my 2 cents, but no, the Veterans Day, always, like I said, near and dear to my heart. Hickory Hill was wonderful. It was a lot of fun to see. It's amazing. You were talking about how, you know, the service members talked about their families being cared for, and that was the first thing that I brought back is when I was gone for a year, how well, especially my youngest daughter, who was at Patriot at the time, how much the staff did to try to help her and help my wife get through that year, because it was a very, very difficult year, especially for her as a fifth grader that was, you know, just missed her dad quite a bit. So still are, but we were very close, and so it was very hard on her. So I immediately went back to that when they were talking about that. I was also very honored to have, I should say Monica, I should say thanks to Monica and her staff. It's always fun to watch Monica go. She's amazing. And then Mindy Grimm at Patriot, I was very honored that she asked me to speak. Like I kind of mentioned it to you all, I learned quickly from the morning that I kept my speech very short because 6 and 7-year-olds aren't real excited about sitting around and listening to an old guy talk. So, but it was a lot of fun. It was very, like I said, it was neat. Patriot is in my neighborhood, so I knew a lot of the people who were there, and so I had a lot of people that said something to me afterwards, or I received a number of emails telling me thank you and everything. So it was nice. It was a great celebration. Loved doing those. So those are a lot of fun. I did want to touch real quickly. I know that the bomb threat was not a great day. I just wanted to tell you that I appreciate how you kept us in the loop as you could. I know how busy you all were. You all were all over the place, but you were able to answer our questions when we had them, and you and your staff did an amazing job on a very difficult day. So thank you for that. Thank all of you, you three sitting over there too, for all your work, and everybody else, the crisis teams and everything, because that was a very rough day. I received a number of very positive comments from parents and families. Obviously, that's always a concern because you wonder how everybody is going to take it, and there were some kids that were extremely frightened, but the way that it was handled was phenomenal, like I said. So thank you, and thank all of you for that.
The only update for me is that it is the time of the year for us to do the superintendent survey. So Ms. Branco will be sending that out here shortly, I guess tomorrow morning. So if you get that, when you get that, please fill it out, and then we'll be putting that data together, and I will be reviewing it with Dr. Ickley, I believe, next week. So be on the lookout for that in your inbox and complete it when you can. Okay, any other board reports? No? All right, moving on to item E, committee reports, buildings, grounds, and finance.
Yes, we did meet on Friday, November 1st, here in the boardroom. We had Pat Carson from BCDM give us an update kind of on the timeline of all the facility projects and then future planning. So far, knock on wood, the weather has been very cooperative, and a lot of these projects have been able to progress quite efficiently. So that was a very positive update. And we'll see. Obviously, we've approved a lot of the work this coming summer at Papillion Middle. We'll kind of dictate how long that project might, but they have some nice contingency plans already in place. So it's a great team effort. We started talking about the timeline for setting the new elementary school boundaries, as obviously construction will start up here sooner rather than later. And then just talking about the financial audit, the 25-26 negotiations, and then we've wrapped up by talking about GPS on the buses. We're doing a pilot program, so that seems to be going well. Have we rolled that? We did officially roll it out. So There's a little bit of lag depending on, obviously, your Wi-Fi or cell connection, so sometimes, the timing, but for the most part, at least, it's a very positive thing for parents that have students on the bus to be able to know where the bus is on the way or where they're at on their way back, so. We have our next meeting set for December 6th.
Thank you. Human Resources and Student Services.
We had a brief meeting on Friday, the 8th, and our topic of discussion was the calendar, which is on tonight's agenda. The discussion included the different staff development days and holiday periods that will be taken, and we all support the calendar, so looking forward to that conversation.
Okay, thank you. Curriculum and Americanism. Okay. Moving on to Section 3, action items. Item A, action by consent.
I make a motion to approve the action by consent as written.
I'll second.
Okay, we have the motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Ms. Wood. Any discussion? No? Roll call.
Ms. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Lotus,
Yes.
Mr. Madler,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Ms. Witt,
Yes.
Mr. Bailey.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Moving on to item B, proposed resolution to cancel employment contracts. Dr. Settles.
Thank you. Yes, this is a follow-up to an item that you saw in October in a meeting when the board voted to not accept the resignations of 2 teachers during the middle of first semester. The board now must determine whether or not their contracts will be canceled for not reporting to work and fulfilling the duties requested. Both were made aware of these pending cancellations and did not request hearings for the matter. Canceling their contracts would then allow us to move forward with reporting this to the Nebraska Department of Education, who can consider action against their teaching certificates for not fulfilling those contractual obligations. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about it.
I'll make a motion to cancel the contracts of Megan Nebel and Wesley Vance for the reasons of not fulfilling contractual obligation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Witt and a second by Ms. Fisher. Any discussion? Questions?
So that, for the Department of Education, it says obviously consider action. Is there, have you looked at others? Is that generally they will cancel them, or do you have any idea how that?
Yeah, I probably won't speculate on it. I've seen a couple of different types of actions, depending on
Probably
the
severity and-
situations.
yeah,
So
situation. Okay.
the reports that we will turn around and share will have more details than, what we've shared here.
Right, absolutely.
But they'll look at each one individually and probably interview them as well and ask some questions before they would make a determination.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And Dr. Settles, I don't believe, at least in my 4 years, we've done one of these before. Can you walk us through why we're going through or going down this path?
Right.
This situation?
Yeah. In situations when we have things like this arise, in general, what we try to do with staff members is work through, can we come up with a solution that would be agreeable to both parties? Can we look at some other options? If we're in a situation like this that we're working with people who just were unable, who said, I just am not going to make those happen, that put us in this type of a situation. And I think in the times that we're living in, it's really important that we consider the effect that this can have on students when we don't have a immediate solution of a qualified person to be with them. So we work through many situations. We're fortunate that we are a school district that has a lot of connections and have had some people step up to help in this situation. But we do want to make sure that this is not a typical occurrence that we would just up and accept. There's certainly an effect on students, an effect on staff members who have had to step up and really extend themselves to help in the situation as well. So I think the reason to go down this path is all of those reasons, but also we want to make sure that that we take the next necessary action to not have this be a regular occurrence.
I think something else, and Dr. Settles kind of alluded to both of these factors, but I think they bear repeating. One, we're in extraordinary times. Everyone around the table knows how difficult it is to staff all positions, certified teaching positions in particular. So when someone leaves us, in years past, we may have had a really great pool to draw from. Those days are long gone. So ultimately, if somebody leaves us with really poor timing, that hurts not only other teachers who have to scramble to provide coverage, but it ultimately hurts children, which that's what we're most concerned with. That leads us to the second issue is the timing of this matter. If somebody has a change of life circumstances, health, family, things of that nature, it happens all the time. Life happens. If somebody tells us in March, in April, May, sometimes even June, we'll, more often than not, we'll work with that teacher and try to find a way that's mutually beneficial for both the school district and the family. We're not in the business of punishing people that want to leave. The timing of these two individuals was absolutely horrific. Frankly, there's no excuse for it. So if somebody can give us some reasonable notice, we're going to work with you. If you come to us right before school starts, or heaven forbid the school year's already started and said, I can't do it, well, we're probably going to come after you. That's not meant to be employee unfriendly. That's just we're trying to protect families and kids who deserve a high-quality teacher. And teaching is a unique profession. This is a contract. They're not, in certain industries, you can give 2 weeks' notice and walk away from the job. This is not that kind of environment. Teachers have the benefit of having a contract which protects them, but the expectation is that you fulfill the terms of that contract, not unlike signing a contract to buy an automobile or a house, for example. So I really appreciate the board's support on this, really appreciate the work that Dr. Settles put in. I wish these two individuals well, but at the end of the day, they broke a contract, and that's a very serious thing.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, so we have the motion by Ms. Swit and a second by Ms. Fisher. Roll call.
Mr. Lotus?
Yes.
Mr. Madler?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Moving on to Section 4, discussion information items. Item A, 2024 board election recap. Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Madler, members of the board. So I would invite Mr. Madler and I, when we were talking about this discussion topic, I would invite Mr. Madler and the board to give their thoughts and opinions. I thought I would cue it up with just a few general observations, and then I would love to hear from our board on their thoughts. First and foremost, I want to thank all 6 individuals that came out of the primary and advanced to the general election for showing interest in the Board of Education. Not everybody can make it to the final 3, of course, but to stick your neck out there and run for the Board of Education is no small matter. It's time, it's money, it's knocking on doors, it's canvassing neighborhoods, it's spending personal dollars to make sure that your interest in your candidacy is clearly understood. I have great respect and admiration. Having never been an elected official myself, I've never put my neck out there, full disclosure. So for those that are willing to do that, to serve in any capacity, I have great respect. I know I've mentioned this before, I'll mention it again. This is one of the few, if not the only elected positions in the state of Nebraska where you are not paid. There's no compensation, there's no remuneration of any type. No benefits, certainly no pay, no compensation. People run because they love the community, they love the school district, and they want to serve. I have great respect for that. So for those of you that ran, you have my great gratitude for that. I want to congratulate Marcus, Skip, and Ms. Butler. I suspect maybe we'll hear from other board members on that. We're really looking forward to seating the 3 board members when the board reconvenes in January. Just as a reminder to our community and our board members who are in attendance, our very first January meeting of the year, that's when the board reorganizes itself. And by that I mean we select officers, We determine who's going to be on what subcommittees. There are a number of ancillary positions, such as maybe representation, such as the Teammates Board of Directors, such as representation on our Schools Foundation. All of that administrative work happens in January, so we'll be getting closer to that in the coming weeks. Also wanted to remind the board, our newest member, Ms. Butler, will have a onboarding on Tuesday, December 3rd, just so that the board is aware of what that looks like. And I've been in contact, Ms. Baranko's been in contact with Ms. Butler. We spend about half a day with new board members. They meet with our executive cabinet team where we go over general communication, the role of cabinet, the organizational chart. You get a name badge, you get your district technology, email account, things of that nature. And then we split the new board member or board members, depending on the situation, into the big teams, business, communications, CIA, HR, student services, so that they can do some more specialized work with the new board member. So again, Tuesday, December 3rd, all current board members are welcome to attend. It isn't just for Eliza. In years past, we've had board members attend because, one, be supportive of the new board member, but it's also a good brush up on some different things. We will have other opportunities to recognize Ms. Fisher. Ms. Fisher has been a friend, she's been an ally, she's been a supporter, and on a personal note, she was a member of the original board that hired me. And it's often said, the only one, I might add, and superintendents sometimes will say off the record, the best board of education you'll ever have is the board that hires you. Val, you've been a terrific friend, a mentor. I think I can speak for everybody around the table when I say we've all learned and been mentored by you. And to see you leave, it's very bittersweet. Extremely excited to see what life holds for you and Doug, kids, grandkids. We'll have more opportunities to talk about that, but just wanted to give a heartfelt thank you to Valerie Fisher with 20-plus years of service to the Papillion La Vista Community Schools. That is no small thing, ladies and gentlemen. Lastly, before I turn it back to Mr. Madler and the board, I want to congratulate all new state senators and State Board of Education members. Again, these are people that are working for the best interests of our kids, our families, this great state that we're blessed to live in. The legislature reconvenes on January 8th, so we're going to see how those new members all gel. And I believe shortly thereafter, on or abouts, Mr. Richards will have Mr. Gay come in and give us a briefing, not only on the new state senators, but perhaps some of those legislative priorities that we may see come out of this legislative session. It is a long session this year. This is the first year of the biennium, which means it's a 90-day session. I think there's going to be a whole lot of action around property tax relief, among other issues. So more on that in a bit, but I've said my piece. Again, congratulations to everybody who ran. Congratulations to our 3 board members. Thank you, Val, for your years of service. And with that, Mr. Madler, I would turn it over to you to any remarks that you or the board may have.
Any comments? No? Yeah, I echo everything you said. Thank you to all the candidates. I'm excited to work with Ms. Butler, continue to work with Mr. Bailey. And I know we'll do something later on for Val in coming weeks, but learned a lot, and you will be missed at this board. But I just want to thank the community for electing me to another term. I don't take this role lightly. I know none of us do up at this table. I look forward to continuing to serve this great district and community and working with all of you. So thank you to the community.
Yeah, I would like to say thank you as well. I couldn't have said it any better. It's kind of why I let you go first, because you usually have more eloquent than I am, but thank you for everyone that came out and voted. We do appreciate that. The turnout was good, and so that says a lot. So thank you, and yes, I look forward to another 4-year term. So
I'm not letting Val off the hook yet. She's got 2 more meetings, and there's lots to do between now and then, so.
I like it.
Okay. Moving on to item B, the proposed 2025-26 student calendar. Dr. Settles.
Yes, thank you. You will see in front of you a proposed calendar for your consideration. That calendar for the 25-26 school year does include 173 days for our elementary students and 175 days for our secondary students. For staff, you will see 187 days listed on there. We do not show an additional 3 days equivalent that our staff works for parent-teacher conferences throughout the year, so that you only see the 187 up there. The first day of school, so this is a pretty typical calendar for us. It follows very closely along what we had this year with just a couple of tweaks. Our first day of school for students would be on the 12th, and we would follow what we've generally done with having our K through 6 students have a 11:40 release that day. Only our 7th grade students reporting at the middle school until 11 a.m., and then only our 9th graders at the high school until 1 o'clock. Then everyone else joins in for the first full day of school on August 13th. When we get to the September staff development days, this is where you will notice one change from previously. We did take the day that previously occurred in March, and we moved that to September 22nd. There's a lot of planning that goes on at the beginning of the year, in particularly centered around goals that staff are working on to achieve for their students and their school. So to give a little more time for that in September, in the early parts of the year, and toward the end of the year, a staff development day tended to chop up that month a little bit, as we know sometimes we're really trying to do as much as we can to get everything in before the end of the year. So you'll see that change on here. A typical fall break in October with October 10th, followed by the staff development day on that Monday, the 13th, with the paraprofessional conference. And next year will be our first time that the secondary paras are required to attend the paraprofessional conference as well. In November, so we weren't faced with, one of you mentioned earlier about the day after Halloween. That's actually not an option for next year because Halloween falls on a Friday. So students, we are going to give them that Saturday off. So they're going to go ahead and have that.
Well, that's if we approve it. Yeah, if we approve it.
If approved.
The November 3rd then was the date that we determined for the elementary staff development day in the fall, and you'll see that as February 6th in the second semester. For the holiday break, for the winter break, we do have 3 weekends in there with students returning on January 6th. Our staff would be back the day before on January 5th for one of their 2 staff development days of January. Moving along, in February 16th, you would see the para conference as well as the staff development day, again, similar to what we've done this year. Spring break, we've chosen the 3rd week in March there for that. We do have the preliminary dates as to when the ACT can be given, so we've selected a day for that on the March 24th, which then would be followed up by makeup testing in the next couple of weeks for those that were not available on that day. Have our final staff development day of the year on April 6th. And then our seniors would graduate on that Mother's Day, May 10th, followed by high school final exams and all students wrapping up by the 22nd of May. We do always plan for a few inclement weather days within our calendar, so this calendar would reflect us meeting the required minutes that we need to. However, in case we would be faced with a extremely large amount of days and need to add on in order to meet our state requirements, we would be entertaining days of May 26th, 27th, and 28th, and we do like to give people a heads up on that in advance. I think I hit the major points there, but what questions do you have? We did have a chance to go through this proposed calendar with a couple of our PLEA leadership members, as well as our administrators. We will go through this draft calendar this Thursday in the superintendent's advisory that Dr. Rickley will have our classified advisory group and our certified advisory group on Thursday. So we'll go through that with them as well.
Okay. Thank you for going over it. The one question I had while looking at it is that November 3rd day, because the Halloween is a Friday, and then we'll have that with the next couple of years will be Saturday. And next year, I guess, will be Saturday. So we'll have to deal with it again. The thought about putting it on the Monday instead of the Friday before, do you think it's easier for the families to have the Friday off and the staff to have the Friday off than the Monday, or what was the thinking of going through picking that day instead of the Friday before?
Yeah, we talked through that quite a bit, and in subcommittee as well, we talked through not only this year, but upcoming years, and where there's going to need to be some decisions made, such as, Election Day happens to be right in that time as well, which could also be a potential date to pick. So we talked through it. We ultimately decided to do the Monday because we know that a lot of the schools have have school parties on that Halloween day. And we thought that then you'll have the Halloween day and they'll move up the party to the day before. So does the day before then end up having some lost instruction time too? So we could really probably have argued either one. There were not super strong feelings.
October then already has 4 weeks that are only 4 days for instruction.
That's one of the things that was brought up by the principals, where if you can, anytime we can avoid that in the same month, might be a good thing.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just a couple questions, and don't have this year's calendar in front of me, but I'm looking at, essentially, we have a staff development on the 16th of February, and then, solid month until we get, break there for March, and then the last staff development's on April 6th, and then you really don't have anything all the way through the rest of April and May. Any consideration? I'm assuming that April is probably around the Easter holiday, but I didn't know, is there any consideration to move that staff development back a little bit in April to?
Yeah, we looked at, so when we moved the March one to September 22nd, we did look at an option of instead putting it either late in March or later in April, or even very beginning of May. And kind of the feeling with that was, at that point, it is a bit of a race to get everything in prior to the end of the year. So it will be a stretch for people, though. And so it was one of those things we definitely looked at. Again, we talked pretty at length about this with the principals, and in the end decided to give the September 22nd a try this time, see what types of feedback we get with it, and consider if there's something different we might want to do in years to come.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I do like how we're starting each semester in September and January with 2 staff development days, because to begin the semester with that opportunity to plan and prepare and have some of those discussions that you need to have, I think that front loads things and builds in time for staff to have those opportunities. So I think that's a good thing to try, to move that March day into September, and with school improvement plans and so much work being done at the beginning of the year and then reviews and beginning the second semester, I think those are very valuable ways to use that staff development time. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? No? All right. Thank you, Dr.
Yep,
Settles.
we'll continue to take feedback up until the next board meeting. So if you notice anything that you'd like to see adjusted, please just let me know.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to section 5, the future board calendar. November 15th, 2024, I have a liaison lunch at Parkview Heights at 11:45. November 18th, 2024, PLCS Foundation Board meeting at 6 p.m. here at Central Office. November 19th, 2024, liaison lunch at Hickory Hill at 11:30 with Ms. Witt. November 21st through the 22nd, 2024, the NASB State Conference down at the CHI Health Center. And November 25th, 2024, the Board of Education meeting at 6 PM here at Central Office. Seeing no further business in front of the board, I adjourn the meeting at 6:49. Thank you.